Breviary.
I see that. Mike should get an answer. Mike.
Okay, all right,
I don't know, I was good.
She can help us and you can continue on.
Yeah, you got some new seats here. You got a book or
Breviary.
Okay. I don't know what you're doing over here, lady. Okay.
Well, that's the app you want to download. Breviary. You'll see it. You might see it in another apps. There's an app. There's a pretty popular app out there called Laudate, something like that. That one has all the office, the whole full office. However, that is a not a good translation. The iBreviary one will match everything. The 4-volume breviary. So use iBreviary. Use iBreviary. Yeah. So it's like it'll be like a tan background with the two hands folded together. It'll probably ask you a few times every so often to donate to the app, donate to the Holy Land. So obviously feel free to dismiss that unless you're feeling generous and donate. It will frequently ask you that, so just be ready for it. Just be ready for that. You can kind of close out on it.
Has anyone been successful? Yes, people have been successful. Okay, so the majority, I'm getting nods, yes? Okay, good, thanks. Kevin's doing a great job.
All right.
Kevin, was the lady here that had a question too? The lady who likes swimming. Did you have a question too?
It's not really related to the breviary, it's the prayers, and I wondered why they talk so much about being born again, being, baptized like a, in the prayers.
I just thought it was because it was Easter.
I mean, in terms of the Psalms or the actual prayers. It could be like in terms of the readings. Yeah, we are in the Easter season, so it will follow liturgically with what's going on in the church. It follows exactly on. So, yeah, as Karen said, that's probably if there's discussion of baptism being renewed in the Spirit, being renewed. We're in the Easter season. So, the Psalms follow a 4-week cycle. So, I mean, the Psalms would be just happen to be that day. You'll pray these same Psalms in Lent, in Advent, in Easter, in ordinary time. The Psalms themselves are not unique to Easter. It's some of the prayers, the intentions, some of the responses. Those are things that will change and are more unique for the season you're in. All right. So if you're in the app, then you'll see at the top it'll say invitatory. And it'll say, invitatory is said, this should be in red text. It's said in the first hour of the day. So again, this is the first thing you're praying each day. The first, regardless of what you're doing first each day, invitatory is the first thing. Inviting God into your day. That's what it means. Invitatory. Inviting God into your day. And you'll start the same way with the invitatory every time. Lord, open my lips, my mouth will proclaim your praise. And you say the antiphon, and then the first psalm that's underneath there, you'll see there should be 3 hyperlinks of 24, 67, and 100. Skip over those.
Okay.
Skip over those and go right to Psalm 95.
I could go to Psalm Moody, I thought we were supposed to go there.
If you go to the psalmody, all that does is it skips the invitatory. And it goes to the start of it. The psalmody. You're skipping the full invitatory, and you're going right to the start of morning prayer. The psalmody.
And what about where it says the hypertext says go to the hymn? Do we skip that too? Or?
Yeah, skip the one that says go to hymn. Skip the one that says go to psalmody, and just scroll down with your finger right to Psalm 95.
Okay.
And then you pray through Psalm 95, where it says you'll see each stanza. You'll see each stanza there. It'll do the little stanza. Come, let us sing to the Lord. It ends with and sing joyful songs to the Lord. And then it'll be another antiphon. It'll say the Lord is risen. You can ignore that too. You can ignore that too. Just pray the psalm straight through. Do the antiphon at the beginning. Do the antiphon at the end to kind of match what we're doing elsewhere. And then you'll get to the very bottom. The Lord is risen. And when you see that the next one that says go to him, right above where it says Psalm 24, now you can go to the hymn. Now you hit go to him. And then from there, you can kind of go go down. Now you'll see for here, there's actually 2 hymns. I'm sorry, there's 3 hymns. Only choose one of those. Or choose to say a Hail Mary. Or choose whatever your favorite hymn is to sing. In order to kind of match what we're doing here, make it a hymn of praise. Maybe don't sing like "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord" or something like that. Make it a hymn of praise to God. But also you can make it match. You'll see these match of the season. I mean, here we have Christ the Lord is risen today, or Christ, yeah. So this one we're in the Easter season. In Lent it would be preparing for these 40 days. In Advent, O come Emmanuel. I mean you'll match the hymns. But these hymns are, like I said last week, these hymns are in no way lock you in. You have to do these. They're merely suggestions. So a lot of guys in seminary, myself included, in individual recitation, I just say a Hail Mary, or a Memorare. So you don't because it's just kind of, unless you want to sit there and sing a hymn out loud yourself, please do that. If that's what you like to do, please do that. I love that. But if you just by yourself, Hail Mary is fine.
Well, it's nice because in here they give you the hymn and they tell you what song to sing it to, kind of like.
Right. So and all these, like you'll see underneath there in the red, underneath all the songs, it'll give you like tunes. So the problem is, unless you know that tune, they're all online. If you ever want to look up these hymns online in terms of the tune, it'll give you the sheet, all the notation. It'll give you probably a video of a choir singing it. If you ever want to learn these hymns, they're a large number of them are very traditional hymns that have been sung for hundreds of years in the church, and they're very beautiful. If you're in community, I would always sing. Always sing if you're in community. But by yourself, feel free to say a Hail Mary or another prayer to Mary or to one of the saints. That's fine.
Let me just jump in for 1 second.
Yep.
When Senior loves to say, for himself, because we read these every day, and if I'm not living the way I'm supposed to be living, it can be monotonous. If I'm living the right way, it's just beautiful, it's melodious. He says, I pick one of the psalm sentences, and I kind of meditate, like the rosary almost, and I let that sentence guide me through the rest of the psalm. If that makes any sense. You get like one, your mind kind of beams in and focuses on one thing as you read the rest of it. But it kind of lends to a meditative resuscitation rather than just a right through. So that's just what a senior does. He picks out one thing, and then starting off from one small tangent. But if you have time, don't rush. Maybe that phrase or that sentence, that God-inspired word, maybe that's what you've been needing to hear forever, and it just you really relate to it. Stop. If you're not in community, because obviously this is all private. If you're doing it privately, this could be a huge communicative measure from God that you just happen to be so receptive to listening to, and it can just deeply, deeply impact you. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, slow prayer. There's a especially when you start to get familiar with something, you want to rush through it. You want to go through it. I mean, there's times I know during Mass, you start saying the creed and you just go on cruise control, and like you're like, oh, well, I guess we just said the creed, this beautiful thing that was created in the 4th century, and I will say at the beginning, especially when you're learning it, it might feel a little mechanical, and that's totally fine. It might feel like you're, why this doesn't feel, this feels weird. It feels rote. It feels mechanical. I'm reading through it. I'm not praying it. My advice there would be, like probably Cody said, slow down, really immerse yourself, really read the words, really kind of let them. We have one of the priest professors would say, like, just let it wash over you, let the word wash over you. Slow down, and just keep doing it. It's really something you kind of have to fall into a rhythm with. Once you get used to going through the app, going through the book, and learning how it's structured and worked. Once you kind of learn that, then you stop thinking about how to physically do it, and then you can start praying it. But that first period, you just have to kind of go through it. It might feel weird. It did for me. Don't worry. You're not doing it wrong if it feels a little mechanical right now. just work through it. All right, so I said the morning prayer and evening prayer are the really ones you want to focus in on. There's also office of readings. There's daytime prayer. There's 3 options for daytime prayer. You'll see in there, there's one that's mid-morning, there's one that's midday, one that's mid-afternoon. If you want to do midday prayer, you're only choosing one of those. Choose one of those, and depending on what time of the day it is. And then evening prayer, and then night prayer.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you just like, okay, we did the hymn or Hail Mary,
Yep.
or the memory, and then you do the psalmody.
Yep, you go right in and go to the psalmody, and from there, the app, you should be able to kind of go right through.
So then you do this, the antiphon, the
Yep.
psalm, but then there's a psalm prayer.
The psalm prayer,
And then there's another, like,
antiphon. So the structure for each psalm will be, you start with an antiphon, you pray through the psalm, it'll end with the glory to the Father, and we talked last week, it's a little different than the glory be that you pray during like a rosary or any other time. Then there's a psalm prayer there, and the psalm prayer, typically in community, that's not said. Individually, please feel free to do it. It's kind of good collective prayer, collects the psalm, and then you move on. So, and then once you do the psalm prayer, you repeat the antiphon that you started with, then you move on to the next one, and that's the structure. Antiphon, psalm, glory to the Father, psalm prayer, antiphon. You'll see in there that some don't have psalm prayers. They don't have psalm prayers. It's because it's not actually a song. It's called a canticle. Those come from the Old Testament for morning prayer. For evening prayer, it's the New Testament. And especially for evening prayer, if you'll notice, if you do it 4 weeks in a row, you'll notice that for evening prayer, the canticles are the same for each day of the week, if that makes sense. So Monday has a canticle, Tuesday has a canticle. Those get repeated, kind of like night prayer. We'll go into that a little later. So yeah, please at any time, ask questions especially about like structure of praying it. I'm going a little more about the deeper parts. Father Koenig was already kind of getting in and kind of why we do it. Where did this come from? Why does the church do this? Where did this liturgy of the hours things even come from? And really praying in community, praying these psalms in community, praying it at set times during the day comes from the Jewish tradition. The Jewish people would come together. They would pray these psalms and these hymns of praise together in community. And so in the early church, right now we're reading through the full Acts of the Apostles during this Easter season. So we're looking at the very early church. They did the same thing. They would meet together at set times during the day, and then they would pray these psalms together. I think it's a really cool for me to think about. One, the psalms were what Jesus would have prayed, what Mary would have prayed, what Joseph would have prayed. They would have prayed them together as a family, and then they would go to the synagogue, to the temple. They would pray them with their community, and so after the resurrection, the ascension, after Pentecost, it just was natural for the apostles and the early church. Well, we're continuing this. We're still gathering as community. Of course, they're adding some more things, mass, but this idea of coming together as community and publicly praying the Psalms was very natural for them. And so you take that through, and going into the 6th century, as the Roman Empire is completely collapsing and society is breaking down, it's becoming debaucherous. St. Benedict kind of retreats into a monastery, Monte Cassino, and starts to formalize what we have today as the Liturgy of the Hours, and pray at, again, set times. And it was a little more expansive. They prayed, I believe, for matins, for evening, for the office of readings, I think there was 12 psalms and things like that. It's evolved over the years, but really, this idea of praying publicly, that's all liturgy is, the public work of the people on behalf of God, for God. That's what liturgy is. So this is liturgy of the hours, so we're doing the public work of God on the hours across time. So we have Mass during the day, and then the extension of Mass is the liturgy of the hours that we set times of the day. And it would be every 3 hours if you were, like St. Benedict's monks, in his rule, they'd be praying at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, going all the way. 9 p.m., they would say night prayer. They would go to sleep. They would wake up at midnight, pray office of readings, wake up at 3 a.m., do morning prayer, wake up at 6 a.m. and do prime, and it would go from there. So this has been going on for before the church was even created. So I think it's a very cool way of this is not something that the church has made up in the last 100 years. Something that they said, oh, you know, the priests need something to do. You're not busy enough, right? But no, it's not something we just have. It's been in the tradition of the church since the time of the apostles.
When you get to the Psalm, did you do both of them? Like 86 and 98 were today? Did you do both of them?
For morning prayer, once you get through the invitatory, every hour, I'm going to call them hours, the morning or evening or whatnot. Every hour has 3 psalms, not counting the invitatory. 3 psalms, all of them. The exception would be morning and evening prayer have 2 psalms and a canticle. But the canticle might as well be a psalm. It's a hymn of praise, so we'll call them psalms. Everyone has 3. So if you're doing morning prayer and you're doing less than 3 psalms, you're missing a psalm. So for today, I think 98 was one of them, right? So 86, you do 86, go all the way through. Do that canticle from Isaiah. Boom, you've done the canticle of Isaiah. Then you're moving to Psalm 98. You go all the way through that. So 3 psalms.
Psalm prayer.
Do the psalm prayer. Do it. Once you get past kind of that big confusing chunk at the beginning that we just went through, you just follow it down. Again, like we said last week, if it's in red, if it's in italics, those are just either instructions or little summaries or titles. Don't say those out loud. Those are just instructions for you to do. Yes?
So I've been doing this before Mass.
Yes.
But I haven't been saying it out loud. Does it have to be?
Oh no! If you're doing it by yourself, it's a mental prayer at that point. You can mouth it under your breath. You can say it out loud. You can say it in your head. It is the only time you would say it out loud is if you're doing it in community.
Oh.
Oh yeah, no, but you're definitely doing it. There's nothing wrong with saying it in your head. Correct. If you're doing it by yourself, it's comfortable. You're doing it in a chapel. You're doing it in obviously our Gorgeous Adoration Chapel. You're doing it in a comfortable place in your house. You're doing it out in nature. The beauty of the Liturgy of the Hours is that it can be done anywhere. Anywhere you can take it, especially if you have your phone. Boom, you have anywhere. And if you guys have gone through that app, I think not now, but at some time go through that app and see there's a ton more in the app actually than just the Liturgy of the Hours. You can follow along with all the Mass readings. There's a bunch more prayers. It's good. I promise that I'm not getting any kickbacks from reading. So it really is a great app.
You said that we could download it each day, but can we just download the week or no?
No, it's the way the app works. It is each day. It's just kind of how they set it up. If you want to have it for the whole week, then buy the full. Buy it. There's a few options for this. This is 1 volume of 4. That's the full breviary. There's also something called the Christian Prayer and the Shorter Christian Prayer, and those are other options. They have less in them, the Christian Prayer and the Shorter Christian Prayer, but the less is in terms of office of readings and a full slate of daytime prayer. Morning, evening, and night, they have the full thing for all the seasons, so you'd be fine there. So if you're looking for something that's you want to kind of have it for the full week and whatnot, then invest in one of the books.
Have you explained the difference of the 4 books?
Oh yeah, so if you do the 4 volumes, they're different seasons. So there's a Advent and Christmas. There's 2 for ordinary time, split in half, 1 through 16, 7 through 34, and then this one is Lent and Easter. So there's 4 volumes each one, and You do need to make sure you have the right book, otherwise the prayers, it's just kind of hard to make sense.
I can testify.
Yes. There's actually if you go to, I mean, this would be online, I'm sure they have them in the little way. There's something called the St. Joseph's Guide. It's white. You have it right there. This little white pamphlet, or this white booklet. It tells you exactly each day what to pray.
Also, not clear, so if you want to roll over, because I had this and the book, and I still didn't.
Oh yeah, no. If you want to, we can do a separate time. You can meet with Father Koenig. He knows how to do it. We can do a separate time of kind of like to show you how to navigate the book. It's there's some tricks to it. There's in terms of like knowing how to do it. It's not totally clear, but once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty quick. But don't worry, we will. If you have the book, I will be more than happy to show you exactly how to use it. So one of the cool things about the Liturgy of the Hours is it really immerses you. If you do it for the whole year, it immerses you fully in the liturgical year of the church. All the feast days and the solemnities and the seasons and things like that. I think it's something we've really lost. Unless you're going to daily Mass, we kind of lose feast days for saints and things like that. And the Liturgy of the Hours does a great job of incorporating that in there and kind of doing this hierarchy of days. So Sundays, boom, they get the top billing. Technically, the what gets top billing is the Triduum. There's a whole list in here. You can find this online. There's a whole list of ranking the days, of ranking each day. So the Triduum comes first, and then Sundays, and then it's solemnities, and then solemnities of Jesus, and solemnities of Mary, or maybe that might be switched. Anyway, I actually have the whole list. If you want to check it out later, there's a whole go along, and all that is the hierarchy of days. Now, the nice thing about the app is it does it for you. You don't have to worry about, am I supposed to be praying the prayers from St. Francis of Assisi, or am I supposed to be praying what would that be, sometime in ordinary time in October? Fourth, thank you. So the app does it for you, which is very nice. But it's just a very cool way to immerse yourself in the liturgical year and rediscover all these. There's great saints, and eventually when the new volume gets out, then they'll be able to insert John the 23rd and Saint Teresa of Calcutta and John Paul. Some of these saints they'll issue supplements and things like that to insert those into the breviary. And it's cool, especially if you have a devotion to one of these. You can kind of treat, like, for St. Thomas, his would be considered a feast day. So it's kind of already a feast, but it really, based on where you are, kind of gets heightened, because we should be celebrating St. Thomas. We should be celebrating who our church is named after. So it's a good way and I really do think that we've really lost a big part of that thing. And I kind of laugh. I heard this from somebody we have all these, if you're on Facebook or social media or anything like that, we have all these days, National Hot Dog Day and National Sibling Day and National, all these days. It's like, it's almost like society is begging for each day to have some sort of significance. Oh, the church already has that. Yes, we have the saints, and they're way better than hot dogs. That's me saying that. I love hot dogs. So the society is just begging for kind of this immersion into each day having significance, and God bless us, we have that right here in the breviary. It's really very cool. So I think just again briefly for myself, I think the breviary has been very powerful in my own life. So I was introduced to it. I was a totus tuus teacher. You guys have totus tuus here. When I was a sophomore in college, which now was 10 years ago, holy cow. And we would pray it each day. We would pray morning, evening, and night prayer as a team together each day. It was my first introduction to the breviary, to the Liturgy of the Hours. And I was kind of immediately drawn into it. I mean, I'm a sucker for good liturgy and things like that. So it was kind of like a red flag or a big beacon, like, hey, you're going to really like this, and I did. And it drew me in. It was a great way that summer to kind of settle down. It was, it's a very hectic summer. and it's just kind of a way to draw you back into God. Like Father Koenig said at the beginning, it's a good way to it's just structured into your day. Boom, draws you right back in. Morning, draws you right back in. Here, start this way. Evening, draw you back in. End with night prayer, which is a great way. And so I did it for that summer. I tried to continue it in college, and it really did fall away. And I didn't pick it back up again until about, maybe a little less than 2 years ago now, going to a men's group in downtown Chicago. And I started going to it, and I get there, and they're doing evening prayer and night prayer. I'm like, oh man, I'm in the right place. This is clearly the right place to be. They're immersed in liturgy of the hours. They're doing these awesome prayers. We end the night by singing the Salve Regina, which is this gorgeous Marian antiphon. We sing it during ordinary time. All it is, if you know the Hail Holy Queen prayer that you say at the end of the Rosary, Salve Regina, Hail Queen. So we sing that. I'm like, this is the great place. So it encouraged me to think, like, this is a group of guys you want to stick with. And it was through that group of guys that I discovered my vocation to at least enter seminary. So this book is incredible. It's been an incredible part of my own life. And now being in seminary, it's become a part of my rhythm of the day. It really has. Getting together, we pray morning prayer in community. We frequently pray evening prayer in community. And on Tuesday nights, guys, there's language groups. There's tons of different ways to kind of immerse yourself into the different ways of the Liturgy of the Hours. It really is an incredible book, and it's been a lot. It's been an incredible part of my life. It started with I didn't really know what it was. Now I do, and it really has been incredible.
Yeah. So when you use that word hierarchy, and if you get the book, there's a tremendous introduction in the book, the thing. And the word you're looking for is progressive solemnity.
Progressive solemnity, yes.
And because at Sunday Mass, we have a creed, a Gloria, right? Sunday Mass generally the priest has access to incense. On a Sunday Mass, it's like the high point. As Kevin mentioned, Triduum, Sunday Mass. That's the high point. The Saints' Day will never be celebrated on a Sunday. The Sunday trumps all, and that's why in Lent the fight is, when people give a booze during Lent, no disrespect, you're helping all alcoholics, but can we drink on Sunday? That's where that comes from, because Sunday trumps the penitential season. That fight goes back and forth. I'm not going to put my opinion into it, but it mirrors the Liturgy of the Hours. Now, when I used to run around with Opus Dei people, if they had a feast that was particular to them, they drank at lunch. They'd offer you a beer or a glass of wine. It's a progressive solemnity. It's supposed to not just be the prayer life of the church, it's supposed to be your actual life. So Sunday Mass is the mirror for the breviary. If there's, using Sunday Mass as like the high point, certainly Easter being the highest of the high, if I can even say that, because every Sunday is really the resurrection day. Gloria, Creed, except during what? Lent. Advent has a Gloria. No? Advent doesn't either, sorry. So, but just using that as the structure to look at your breviary. That Sunday Mass carries with it a few extra things so that if you're on St. Thomas' feast day, there's going to be a few extra things. If there's a solemn feast of Mary, there's going to be a few extra things. So anyway, and you're rocking.
Yeah, I think if you lose those things, then you kind of feel yourself setting into kind of this banal, like, oh, this mediocre state. I'm trying to think of the word to say, like kind of just, okay, Sunday Mass is all right. Well, we've lost this Sunday being the high point and building back up, and the liturgy reflects the importance of the day. So a Wednesday in ordinary time is going to look a lot different than if that Wednesday was the Immaculate Conception, Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception versus a Sunday. So it really, again, it's a really cool thing.
That's actually what I was going to say. I think you'd be interested in how the seminary celebrated Immaculate Conception.
Oh, so what's unique? So Mundelein, that's our patroness is Mary, the Immaculate Conception. That's our chapel is named after. We have a statue of her out in the main, on the main circle right in front of the chapel. So how we celebrate it is it would start the night before. So liturgically, I mean, you know, on Saturday nights, we have the vigil mass, so we would start with a vigil. So evening prayer one for the Immaculate Conception would actually start the night before. That's how big these feast days are. We actually start partying before it even starts. That's kind of cool, right? Before the day's even here, we're kind of prepping. We're getting started. We're getting ready to start. So we start with chanting evening prayer 1, followed by exposition of the Blessed Sacrament that would last throughout the night. We would get together and do night prayer together, which is rare for a lot of seminaries. Will be guys doing it together, Paul's doing it together, guys doing it on their own. Typically don't join all together for, at least in a major seminary, join together to do night prayer. So we join together to do night prayer. Big thing. There was a homily at night prayer. Yeah, don't tell Father Koenig, there's an option for homilies. You guys put homilies in everywhere. There's an option for homilies during liturgy hours. Reflections and like that. So we had a homily for this, a great homily about Mary. And then the next day we wake up and we chant morning prayer together. We do benediction. We do a high mass. Classes are canceled for the day. Fantastic. Every possible candle in the entire chapel is lit. You're talking about the high feast day. There's a ton of incense used. It is blown out, and because that is so high, it kind of everything falls down from that. If you mess up this up here, everything down here falls apart. It really does. If you don't treat that where the high where it's supposed to, the lows don't make any sense, and it's all middle. And then I mean, look, we just came out of Lent. Now we're in Easter. I mean, talk about two contrasting seasons. It only works if the liturgy reflects those things. Liturgy in Lent. I mean, you're really not supposed to do a lot of singing. You're supposed to do it's a very solemn thing. I mean, leaving the church in silence. I mean, that's a fairly common thing for some parishes in Lent. That's what we did at the seminary. It's kind of the season reflects it, the days reflect it, and the idea of feasting and fasting, it all comes together in the liturgy, and then, as Father said, comes out and is in the liturgy of the hours. So.
And as Kevin said, you got to see the men at Mundelein do what he's talking about, like we saw at the North American College. If you got to see one seminary, just one, do what he's saying, a high feast for evening prayer with maybe adoration and a cope and the incense and the whole night. It is profoundly muscular. It looks like Christian. It looks like being a real Christian. And a little shout out for the Catholics. Who else is doing this? We're doing it. Sanctifying the hours throughout the day. So it's a tremendous image given us.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite, one of my favorite ways of kind of describing Mass and liturgy is practicing heaven. You're practicing heaven. This is the closest we're ever going to get on this earth of heaven, is the liturgy. All we're doing is we're practicing heaven. So, I mean, this is another talk, maybe for Father Koenig, but about just of God damning people to hell and all this stuff. Well, if you don't practice it on earth, you're not practicing it down here. You're gonna suck at it when you get to heaven. Practice it here. Here you can mess up. There you're in front of God and all the angels. You don't want to mess up there. Practice heaven here. And this is what better way to do it than starting with Mass, extending the liturgy of the hours. There you're praising God 24/7. Well, there's no time up there, so whatever you want to call it up there, but start with this.
For me, for my own practice, I usually have to say morning prayer before Mass, irrespective of the Mass. But what you said, I think, is just so beautiful. Mass, I think, if all you know is St. Thomas the last 50 years, that's all you know. God bless you, that's all you know. Mass is supposed to be a greater continuity with heaven than it is with earth. It's supposed to elevate the mind and the heart of the things to come, the Lord and His second coming, the resurrection. And what we already know, which the other 23 and a half hours a day, if you go to daily Mass, you already know what life is like. You got your own heartaches and crosses. Mass should be an elevation unto the great mystery.
Yeah, and that's why it hurts when there's the music isn't praising God. We're not joining in with all the. If you were able to see them, you'd see all these heavenly hosts and all the saints at every Mass. You'd see them there. You're joining in with them. So when it's kind of like lame, music. I won't get into certain hymns, but this is a hot. I'm talking about hot. You're hearing about the hot button issues at seminary right now.
Here I am.
Yeah, little Lord of the Dance. When the songs kind of start turning inward on us, it doesn't feel right. Songs are praise. It's all about praising God, directing it towards God. You're practicing heaven. You're joining in. All right. So I think going with Father just said about when he prays in terms of how it is, you really have to, especially at the beginning, you really have to be practical with the liturgy of hours. You have to figure out where in your day you're going to fit it in. It's very easy to, I missed it, I'm not going to do it. Do it. I've been with a seminarian in my car where he did morning prayer, office of readings, daytime prayer, evening prayer, and night prayer right in a row because he didn't do it throughout the day. It's all right. There's obviously prefer to do it, start the day, end the day, things like that. But do it. It has to be intentional. It really has to be. It has to be on purpose. It's not going to accidentally just start being a part of your life. And so good ways to do it are, in terms of making it intentional, retreat into a place that you can really come into the presence of God, whether that's the Adoration Chapel, it's a place in your house, it's a place in your yard, it's the church, it's somewhere out in nature, where you can transition into the presence of God. Go there. Go where you can do that. You have your spot. Enter into prayer. This is. I mean, it's no different than how you would normally treat prayer. Enter into it. Start off with you don't have to sit down and boom, open up. Relax. There's probably some hectic things going on during the day. Relax. Don't go right into it. Just relax. Put yourself in the presence of God. Again, faithful repetition. At the beginning, you just need to start doing it. Learn the prayers. Like I said last time, the Psalms will start to become a part of you. They'll start to just come out of you. I've heard these guys tell me they wake up in the morning and all of a sudden they just Psalms will just pop into their head in the morning. That's cool. And the Psalms, and Father talked about this at the very beginning, the Psalms cover a whole gambit of human emotions that you might not in the moment be feeling. You might not be feeling Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? You might not at the time be feeling Psalm 118, which is, all the ends of the earth are singing the praise of God. You see the earth, you're like, there's no praising going on here. You might not feel in a moment, but I guarantee you someone else in the whole body of the church feels that. Probably more than one person. And you eventually will feel that way. I was talking with a guy, it's one of my friends at seminary, and we were just discussing, and one of our friends had actually just discerned out. And we were kind of digesting that. He was saying, for the first time, we've been praying this, my God, why have you forsaken me? Or Psalm 88, which is Friday night evening prayer, where it's like, my only companion is darkness and all that stuff. And it's like, wow, for the first time, I feel that. It's this down moment. I really feel that. I'm like, yeah, it's true. So while you might not be feeling it at the moment, you might feel top of the world, you might feel in the middle, it's on behalf of the church. That's really kind of the thing. It's the prayer on behalf of the church. One of the priests puts it as and I think it might be even in one of the Vatican II documents of the bride's prayer to her bridegroom. For we're the bride of the church, Jesus is the bridegroom. You can think of it as even a love letter. A love letter that we're given to by the Father, by the bridegroom's father's like, I know what he likes to hear. It's almost like a cheat sheet, like, hey, bride, here, I know what my son likes to hear. Here you go. Here's the Psalms. He likes to hear these Psalms. Talk these, pray these Psalms to him. Say these Psalms to him as like it's a love letter. Boom. That's really what it is. It's a prayer from the church to God, joining with Christ to the Father. It really is a beautiful prayer. So another thing that you might find helpful is dedicating each one of the hours for a different intention, for a different person. So when I ask you to pray for them, I'm gonna, you're praying for behalf of the church, but there's nothing that says you can't keep one of those members of the church in particular mind during that prayer. Kind of it makes it a little more personal if you do that. That's a great option in terms of getting into it. But you can write it out. You can put it on your mirror. If you have the book, put it in your book. And I'm like, oh, this, it's the first Monday of the month. The morning prayer is going out to Mom, Grandma, Julie from down the street. That's a great option in terms of making. I mean, it really is you to kind of make. You have to start making this personal. Again, you'll get past that kind of the feeling of mechanicalness, but you do need to at one point make it your own. Make it your own thing, and that's a good way to do it. Again, start small. Morning prayer, evening prayer, then add in night prayer will be the next one I add in, then office of readings, then daytime prayer. My daytime prayer is very short, so maybe flop daytime prayer and office of readings.
Office of readings, is that the readings for the day, like the gospel?
It's not the readings for the day. So the readings, the office of readings is I didn't start praying until seminary, but what I really like about it is it'll be the first reading. It'll be 3 psalms like normal, 3 psalms, and there'll be 2 readings. One will be from Scripture, so you're reading a piece of Scripture every day, and so it'll kind of go through books at once. Right now we're going through Revelation. Going right through Revelation. And then the second reading is from typically a father of the church, or a doctor of the church, or a church document, and they're beautiful readings. I mean, talking about going back to Saint Augustine, Saint Ambrose, Saint Jerome, Saint Irenaeus, Saint Quodvil Deus. I mean, these things you've never heard of before.
Kunigunda.
Yeah, the one for Holy Saturday is probably the coolest reading of the year. It talks about Christ going down to hell and pulling Adam out of hell. Or I guess it wouldn't be hell for what's the Sheol it's just this beautiful reading of Christ is kind of like you hear, and if you pray the Apostles' Creed, Christ descended into hell, and you kind of think of what's that about? This reading, boom, makes it come alive. It's very cool. So, short answer, no, it's not the opposite. It's not the readings for the day. They're different readings, but they're very cool. But again, start small. It can be very overwhelming and very easy to give up. If you feel overwhelmed, you're probably just going to give it up. So start small and then add more. Yes.
So we would start with morning prayer, daytime
Yep.
prayer, evening prayer, night prayer. Then, like in a year, we start office of readings, or when would we do that?
Whenever you feel comfortable. Whenever you feel you've got that rhythm. Whenever you feel like you've got, like I have a time every day that I'm praying morning prayer. I have a time every day I'm praying evening prayer. Before I go to bed, I'm praying night prayer. And if I'm doing that pretty consistently, then let me add in daytime prayer. Sometime during the day that I can step out. Daytime prayer takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes, if that. It's very quick. 3 psalms and a very brief reading, and then a prayer. 5 minutes.
And where would the office of readings go?
The office of readings traditionally comes at the very beginning, but that one is nice. You can go any point during the day.
Okay.
Any point during the day you can do office of readings. So if you kind of have a regular prayer time, that's a good time to put it there. Just because the readings are, in terms of things to if you're looking for something to actually to prayer to chew on. I mean, the Psalms are great. There's readings and all the other ones, but a long reading to really read. If reading through Scripture, reading through the thoughts of the church fathers, if that's something that you really like, reading and praying with reading, it's a great. That's kind of like the one that can kind of draw the most out of. So I would say put that with if you do personal prayer time, put it with that.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it's not actually part of the...
It's just definitely part of the office, so it's certainly part of the flow.
So for this class, we're gonna do morning and evening prayer.
Yes.
Next time we come back, for all you goody
Yeah.
two-shoes, and God bless you, we're gonna do all the other parts.
Yeah, I mean,
Which are
we-
significant. But
yeah.
Kevin's purpose is to get you to get in. If you're,
Yeah,
you're
get
looking
in.
for expert, I mean, you're in.
Morning and evening. Those are the ones that if people are praying it, it's morning and evening. Deacons praying morning and evening. Morning. Those are the ones that have the great gospel canticles. They have you pray. If you do that's what you're praying the Magnificat every day. Magnificat is, like I said last time, probably my favorite prayer of one of my favorite prayers in the church. It's great. Question?
So, if you're doing the morning, so you talked about what we put in and what we can skip.
Yeah.
Is there the same thing for the evening, or is the evening just
Yeah.
goes straight through?
Evening goes straight through. The evening, the invitatory is not part of evening prayer because it presumes you've already done that because it comes in the evening. Invitatory is the first thing you do. So that one you can probably go straight through. It'll probably do the same thing where I'll give you a few options for hymns. Choose one of them or choose a different one. That's fine. If you're looking for something to do with your family, night prayer. Night prayer is great to do with your family. It's the same every night. It's the same every week. So Sunday night will always be the same. Monday night, always the same. It's very consistent. It involves, at the beginning, a short examination of conscience. So good way to, good way to look back at your day. There's a short canticle of simony we talked about. Lord, let your servant go in peace. And then it ends with an antiphon to Mary. We just talked about the Salve Regina. Right now, there's a beautiful hymn called the Regina Caeli. Rejoice, Queen of Heaven. Your son who said he would rise did. Be happy, Mary. It's a cool way, and it can be recited in English and Latin if Latin's your thing. It's great. It's really great, and probably one of my favorite. Hearing people sing together these Marian antiphons it's gorgeous to this day, and I've heard it all year. So it really is fantastic. So great thing, and again, night prayer is great. It'll be 8 to 10 minutes. Great thing to pray with the family. All right. Any final questions? All right. We'll do this again next week. Right now, we're going to once again go up to the main church, and we'll do evening prayer together. So make sure you have it ready to go on your phones. We'll do like we did last time. We'll sit on the two main aisles or two main sections of the church in front of the altar, half on one side, half on the other.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And we'll do this again next Wednesday.
Yep.
With all the.
And please come with your experiences, come with your questions, come with any insights. We'll
Bring someone else.
and bring someone else.
And follow your phones. Excellent.